Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Nikolai Rafe. We're honoured this evening to acknowledge Air Commodore Mark Lax, representing Air Force Association, Wing Commander Fiona van der Snoek, Commanding Officer of 464 Squadron. We would also like to acknowledge the members of the Bomber Command Association and Bomber Command Commemorative Day Foundation, who are watching today's ceremony via the live stream. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Australia's Federation Guard is the tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Catapult party, present, arms.
Australians all
If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war or on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Mervyn Lionel Vivian Haas. Mervyn Haas was born in Oakey, near Toowoomba, on the eastern side of the Darling Downs, Queensland, on the 16th of May 1915, the son of Frederick and Jane Haas. He grew up in Oakey, attended the Oakey State School, and went on to work as a cream grader with the Oakey Dairy Association. During the Second World War, an air base was sited just 3 kilometres north of the town, and a runway was built. With a full complement of RAF personnel, the base housed almost 2,000 troops, whilst a depot serviced, assembled and conducted test flights of Bristol Buey Fort, P-51 Mustang, Norseman, CSC Wirraway and Supermarine Spitfire aircraft. Given this, it was perhaps no surprise that Oakey residents would enlist in the Royal Australian Air Force. Haas first enrolled in the RAF Reserve in February 1941 at a mobile recruitment centre in Toowoomba. He was later called up, enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 20th of July. After initial training, he began training as an air gunner, attending wireless and air gunner school in Parkes and bombing and gunnery school at Evans Head. Promoted to sergeant, he received his air gunner's badge on the 1st of May 1942, and the following month embarked at Sydney, bound for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 Royal Australian Air Force pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who throughout the course of the war joined the Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in the United Kingdom, Haas transferred to the newly established number 464 Squadron in November. Although a squadron of Royal Australian Air Force, the personnel of the squadron were drawn from many countries, and less than a third of the squadron members were Australian. Based at Fetwell in Norfolk, led by South African Wing Commander Ronald Young, and equipped with Lockheed Ventura light bombers, number 464 Squadron joined 2 Group of Bomber Command. Its first operation, an attack on the Philips radio valve factory at Eindhoven in the Netherlands, took place on the 6th of December 1942. All squadron took off at 11:20, forming with numbers 487 and number 21 squadrons. Low level was maintained by the formation, and the journey was uneventful until the men crossed the Dutch coast, at which point they experienced lots of flak. This produced the first casualty, as one aircraft was witnessed diving into the sea. The route to the crossing of an enemy emergency landing grounds, which was well defended, and flak was extremely accurate. Accounting for the aircraft, piloted by the commanding officer of number 487 Squadron, Wing Commander Francis Cecil Civil, whose aircraft was seen to blow up and crash in flames on the aerodrome. Sergeant Swan was also hit, 5 feet of the port main plane being shot away. He jettisons his bombs, which was seen to burst on a gun emplacement, before making a safe return to base. Pilot Officer Sidney Abbott was hit by a flak shell in the port engine, but continued to the target, bombed, and made it back to base. Heavy opposition was then met over the target by flak guns mounted on the roof. The aircraft in which Haas was the air gunner was shot down by the flak and was seen to dive into the block of houses near the target area. All crew members died. Flight Officer Maurice Moore, Flight Officer Nathan Cohen, Pilot Officer Sidney Venier, and Sergeant Mervyn Haas, who was 27 years old. Today, Mervyn Haas's remains lie buried near Eindhoven General Cemetery, underneath the inscription, "Greater love have no man. God's greatest gift, remembrance." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Mervyn Lionel Vivian Haas, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, please stand for the reading of the ode and a sounding of the last post.
Careful party, shoulder up.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Careful party, present, arms. Control party, inwards, turn. Control party, quick, march.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.